I'm super excited about it. Ooh, and there's a giveaway. That'll be over by the time you guys read this. Watch this, see this. Sorry, I'm entering it though. I am so thrilled to be excited. So thrilled to be excited. So thrilled to be excited. That makes no sense. But let's talk about the books, or I'll talk about the books that I have on my list. Yeah, let's do that. Hi everybody, it's Audrey and welcome back to Chapter and Converse. Thank you for stopping by today, and I am so excited that there are some new subscribers that are here as well, so welcome to the crazy. And today, I'm gonna do something that I should have done in January and February, which is to put a most anticipated releases video together and out before the month actually starts. So if you guys missed my January, February, and are curious about books that came out in the past, I'll link those down below for you guys. But this is just a bunch of books that are coming out in March that I'm excited about. Pre-ordered one of them, and let's just jump right in, right? So you guys know the drill. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books that come out every month, and I think I could have like 10 or 12 that we're gonna talk about, and I fully expect that as the month goes on, that my list is going to grow. And ever since I started to buy books again, because I'd really kind of put a cork in it, I want every book that's coming out. So all of these books are also on my Goodreads 2021 list, so all my Goodreads stuff is down below if you would like to learn more about the books or check it out that way too. That's totally cool. And I thought what we would do this time, since when I did that shopping video, we did some screen sharing and kind of read through some of the books, I thought we would try that this time. And maybe I would sound a little more intelligent about the books I'm talking about for a change. So the first book I have is Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. And this is the third book of the Brown sister series. So book number 1 was Chloe, book number 2 was Danny, and then this is the youngest sister, Eve. And in this book, she is sort of described as a hot mess. And her parents, I think, like call her a spoiled brat, and she winds up walking away from them and walking away from her trust fund and needs to find herself a job. And she interviews to be a chef at this bed and breakfast, but before, during, or after the interview, she basically hits her boss with the car. Not the best start, but they hire her anyway. So this does have that enemies to lovers, I'm going to guess, romance. I'm thinking they probably don't really care for each other too much at the beginning, but I really enjoy the series. I love her characters, and what I love about these books is there is a romance thread to it, obviously, and I'm not, you guys know, like a huge romance person. She addresses so many complicated issues and so many real life issues. So it's diversity. She talks about depression. She talks about anxiety. In this book, I believe both main characters are autistic, and Talia Hibbert is autistic as well. So it's an own voices, and she sort of wonderfully weaves these stories together with these complex but very realistic characters. And I just adore them. I just absolutely devoured the first 2 books. I am very excited for this one. I'm hearing really good things about it, and it's on the list. Next book is by J.T. Ellison, and it's Her Dark Lies. And this is kind of, I think, an isolated thriller. At the wedding of the year, a killer needs no invitation, it says. And J.T. Ellison wrote Lie to Me, which is the first book by her that I read that I loved. And then she wrote Good Girls Lie, which had boarding school trope vibes to it, which I also very much enjoyed. And I'm hearing wonderful things about this book too. So in this one, it says, they get on the island and skeletal remains have just been found. There's other newer disturbances too. Menacing texts, a ruined, I don't know why I can't say texts, a ruined wedding dress, and one troubling shadow hanging over Claire's otherwise blissful relationship. So something happened with Jack's first wife, and then we have a raging storm and the power goes out. So this is everything I want in a book. You guys know I love an isolated thriller, and it just sounds fantastic. The next book is a totally new one to me, and it's Too Good to Be True by Carola Lovering. So I haven't heard of her, but this is one of those, you like this, you're gonna like that kind of a book. And this is, it says 1 love story, 2 marriages, 3 versions of the truth. And this is dual timelines. So we have Skye in the present, and she's about to get married to her boyfriend, Burke, who is a bit older than her. It doesn't say how much older, but it's like whirlwind courtship, and she's super excited. And I think even though something maybe feels a little bit off, she just sort of throws herself right into all of it. And then it says, Burke isn't who he claims to be. Of course he's not, which is why it's gonna be great. And it says, interspersed letters to his therapist reveal the truth. He's happily married and using Skye for his own deceptive ends. And then we get a third perspective 30 years earlier about a 17-year-old girl named Heather who's trying to end things with Burke. So something happened in the past. So it says, on a collision course she doesn't see coming, Skye throws herself into wedding planning as Burke's scheme grows ever more twisted. But of course, even the best laid plans can go astray. And just when you think you know where the story is going, you'll discover that there's more than one way to spin the truth. So I love multiple perspectives. I love past and present. It's kind of reminded me like a little bit of The Wife Between Us, just in the setup of it with the multiple points of view and sort of the messed up husband. So I'm really excited about this one. It's got over 4 stars already. I know it's like early to tell since it hasn't technically come out yet. This one comes out March 2nd, so wait for it. But she's a new to me author and I'm really excited for this. And yeah, I don't know. Let me know, you guys, but this one sounds really, really good. Okay, so let's talk about Every Last Fear by Alex Finlay. And this is the book that I have pre-ordered. And side note, you guys have heard me talk about Murder by the Book in Houston, Texas. And it's a bookstore down there that I just absolutely adore. I've never been there in person, but I love them from afar. So I purchased it from them. I will include their information down below. Nothing in it for me, but I know things are terrible in Texas right now between the snow and the power outages and the water and everything. And hopefully by the time this video goes up, things have really improved. But if any of you guys are living in Texas or you have friends and family there, my heart is with you. I hope everyone is okay. I hope your homes are okay. I hope everyone is in your network is okay. And I realize me buying a book from a bookstore is hardly solving problems. So small sidebar, but I am thinking of everybody down in Texas right now. Okay, so this book is probably one of the most hyped books I have heard about, and people being super excited for it. And I feel like part of it is because Alex Finlay is a pseudonym for someone super mysterious. So I don't know who this is. And there's like no photos of him. And I think it's a him. And actually just looking at the bio, I don't know if it's a man or a woman, but it's an author who lives in DC, and there's sort of all this mystery around Alex Finlay, him, her, their self. So I'm not sure who Alex is. But anyway, this book sounds like all the things I want, which is why I pre-ordered it. And it says it's about a family made infamous by a true crime documentary, and they are found dead, leaving their surviving son to uncover the truth about their final days. So this is about a guy named Matt, and his older brother Danny was convicted of killing his girlfriend, which became this true crime documentary, which I think says that his brother was wrongfully convicted. And then I don't know how many years we fast forward, but the rest of Matt's family is on vacation down in Mexico, and they die in an accidental gas leak, I think. But like, is it an accident? Is it not? Matt's a student at NYU, and then he, I'm guessing, like looks into what happened to his family in the present. And then my understanding is that we get dual timelines. So we see things in the past as well. And then I don't know if we get much from the docuseries. I don't know. This is like one of those things where so many people are talking about it and I don't want to know, but I'm so excited to know about it. So my eyes will be on the mailbox big time. This comes out March 2nd as well. So you can bet when this one comes in, I'm going to be dropping whatever I'm doing and picking it up. So staying on a true crime vibe, and this is actual true crime, this one sounds so messed up. This is called The Babysitter, My Summers with a Serial Killer by Liza Rodman and Jennifer Jordan. And this is part memoir, part crime investigation. I don't know why I can't talk today, you guys. And it says, reminiscent of Anne Rule's classic The Stranger Beside Me, about a little girl longing for love and how she found friendship with her charismatic babysitter, who was also a vicious serial killer. Cape Cod in the 60s. Her mom worked at a local motel, danced in the Provincetown bars, and her babysitter, the kind, handsome handyman at the motel where her mom worked, used to take her and her sister on adventures. But something they didn't know, he was a serial killer. Some of his victims were buried in pieces right there in the garden in the woods. So I guess it all came out in 1969. And like, my God. So it says, haunted by nightmares, And horrified by what she learned, no surprise, Liza became obsessed with the case. Now she and co-writer Jennifer Jordan revealed the chilling and unforgettable true story of a charming but brutal psychopath through the eyes of a young girl who once called him her friend. You guys, this sounds so messed up. Why am I so fascinated with stuff like this? Oh, true crime. Let's talk about Peter Swanson. He has a new book, Every Vow You Break, which always have the Police, Every Breath You Take song in my head every time I talk about this book. And you guys know I love Peter Swanson, and if for some reason you are watching me and you have not read The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson, when this video is over, stop what you're doing and get on that book, because it's so flippin' good. Loved it. First book I read by him, totally obsessed. And this is also kind of like the J.T. Ellison book, kind of guest list vibes, but this is a honeymoon instead of a wedding. And it says, a bride's dream honeymoon becomes a nightmare when a man with whom she has a regrettable one-night stand shows up in this electrifying psychological thriller. So, oh, Abigail, she had a drunken one-night stand on her bachelorette weekend, not even like years ago, like bachelorette weekend. She tries to put the incident and the sexy guy behind her, but it sounds like here he comes. So she's married, trying to enjoy her fabulous honeymoon, and the stranger appears. So it says, does she tell Bruce, her husband, and possibly ruin not just the honeymoon, but their entire marriage? Or should she handle this psychopathic stalker on her own? To make the situation worse, strange things begin to happen. Love it. She sees a terrified woman in the night shadows, and no one at the resort seems to believe anything is amiss, including her perfect new husband. Peter Swanson is one of my favorite people when it comes to dark and messed up people doing dark and messed up things, and I cannot wait for this book. It comes out March 23rd. So the next book is a debut, and it's called Who is Maud Dixon by Alexandra Andrews. And when I first saw this, it said for fans of The Silent Patient, and I'm one of the people who loved The Silent Patient. And this is about a writer, small town writer, wannabe writer. And I just finished reading Verity, so it feels slightly similar to that in one way, in that we've got this writer just striving to make it and make some money and become famous in this one. So Florence is hired to become the assistant to quote unquote Maud Dixon, which is a pseudonym for an author that nobody knows, Alex Finlay. And the woman behind Maud Dixon is actually a woman named Helen, and it sounds like she can kind of be prickly, it says, but she's full of pointed wisdom on both writing and living. So her and Florence go on a research trip to Morocco, and you know, all is good. Florence has never been out of the country. She's super excited for it. Life is taking off. Everything's going swimmingly. And then she wakes up in the hospital after a terrible car crash, and Helen is dead. And it says, Florence begins to imagine what it might be like to upgrade not only into Helen's life, but also that of Helen's best-selling pseudonym, Maud Dixon, because nobody knows who Maud is. So Florence sounds like my kind of gal. Twisted in all the best ways. So I don't know if this is dual timelines. I don't know what is going on here. This is all I know is what I'm reading on the screen to you guys, but I'm hearing a lot of really good things about it. Again, I loved Silent Patient, and I'm fascinated as a writer aspiring to be published. I'm always fascinated to read books about writers, and not that I'm twisted like Lowen and Verity or Florence, although I shouldn't speak. Who knows how twisted Florence might be. I'm really excited for this one. This is another one for March 2nd. So the next book is giving me some Daisy Jones and the Six Vibes, and this is called The Final Revival of Opal and Nev by Donnie Walton. And this is a fictional oral history of a 70s rock and roll duo in New York City. And this one is about a girl named Opal, and it says she is pushing against the grain in her style and attitude, Afro-punk before that term existed. So she is from Detroit. She winds up meeting this British singer-songwriter named Neville in a bar's amateur night, and they wind up partnering and making music together and heading to New York. And it says the record company that they're working with signs another band that has a Confederate flag at a promotional concert. So Opal protests, and the violence that ensues sets off a chain of events that will not only change the lives of those she loves, but also be a deadly reminder that repercussions are always harsher for women, especially Black women who dare to speak their truth. So then we fast forward to 2016, and we have a journalist who is trying to create an oral history of her idols, which includes Opal and Nev. So it reveals the stories leading up to the cult duo's most politicized chapter. But as her interview digs deeper, a nasty new allegation from an unexpected source threatens to blow up everything. So it says provocative and chilling. It says a daring structure and a bold new voice in contemporary fiction. So I don't know if this is done in interviews the way Daisy Jones was, but I'm really excited about this, and it just sounds really interesting. I love these rock and roll stories, New York City in the 70s. I just think this will be really fun, and again, hearing such wonderful things about this book, so on my list. The next book is Our Last Echoes by Kate Ellis Marshall, and she wrote Rules for Vanishing, which is, it's a YA kind of horror mystery thriller, and it was one of the first, I would say, horror-ish books I intentionally went into and was scared. But Julie from Pages and Pens was talking about it, and I picked it up. I want to say this was 2 years ago now, and I loved it. So I'm excited to read more by her. I haven't read anything else that she wrote, but this says it's Kara Thomas meets Twin Peaks in this supernatural thriller about one girl's hunt for the truth about her mother's disappearance. So Sophia's first memory is of drowning. It says she remembers the darkness of the water, her mother pulling her to safety, but Sophia has never been in the ocean, and her mother died years ago in a hospital, or so she's been told her entire life. So I guess she's trying to figure out what happened to her mom. And one of the things I loved about Rules for Vanishing is it's mixed media, it's multiple timelines, it's interviews, it's medical records. Like, there's just so much in that book, which to me made it such an interesting read, and it really plays with time in a way that really played with my head. And it sounds like this one also, it says, it's an eerie collection of found documents, written confessionals in the style of Rules for Vanishing, with supernatural twists that keep you questioning what's true and what's an illusion. So I'm very curious about this one. The next book on my list is another YA, and this one is full-on boarding school vibes, which is the main/only reason it is on my list. But it's also a mystery. But it's The Castle School for Troubled Girls by Alyssa B. Scheinmel. And I hadn't heard of this. This literally just sort of like came across my radar also when I was doing some research. So Moira's parents are sending her to an all-girls boarding school deep in the Maine woods. I would like to say like Stephen King vibes, although you guys know I haven't read any Stephen King yet, but anytime I hear about a book in Maine, I think about Stephen King. So Moira is going deep into Maine, and she knows her parents are punishing her. She's been too much trouble since her best friend Nathan died, and for a while before that. So she is sent to the castle school, isolated from the rest of the world. And it says on her first night, she hears distant music. On her second, she discovers the lock on her window is broken. On her third, she and her roommate venture outside and learn that they're not so isolated after all. There's another very different castle school nearby, this one filled with boys whose parents sent them away too. Moira is convinced that the castle schools and the doctors who run them are hiding something, but exploring the schools will force Moira to confront her overwhelming grief and the real reasons her parents sent her away. So I'm not hearing anything about this, which doesn't mean anything. It has almost 4 stars on Goodreads. It has like less than 150 ratings, but I will be super curious to just kind of see some more about it. So definitely will be on my radar, but you guys know I love anything boarding school, so it is definitely worth checking out in my book. The next book is also a YA book, and this is kind of thriller mystery, and it also says fantasy, so I'm not wholly sure where the fantasy part comes in, but it's Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulet, and this was sort of a, if you enjoy Angie Thomas, you'll like this book recommendation that I saw, and it's a thriller about a native teen who must root out corruption in her community. So Donis, I hope I'm saying that right, Donis Fontaine, she is 18 years old, a biracial, unenrolled tribal member, and the product of scandal. And she just wants to study medicine and, I'm guessing, just go off and go to college and live her life, but her mom gets ill and she has to take care of her. And she winds up witnessing a murder. So I'm skipping over a lot of stuff here, but like, she witnesses a murder and gets thrust into the criminal investigation. So she goes undercover, but also pursues her own investigation about things. So it says, the deceptions and deaths keep piling up, and soon the threat strikes too close to home. So you guys know I love thriller and mystery. So I'm intrigued about this one. It's getting some really great reviews as well. So it's how far will she go to protect her community, even if it tears apart the only world she's ever known? So let me know, 4.6 stars. Again, not a huge amount of ratings because it hasn't come out yet, but March 16th. So that's it for my books for March. Let me know, you guys, if you've heard of any of these. Like I said, if you have had the good fortune to read any of the arcs, or obviously, what books am I missing? Because you guys know I'm missing some books, and I know I'm missing some books. But let me know down below, and also let me know what you're most excited to read in March, and then we'll talk about all the books. So thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out today. Again, I hope everyone's doing great. I am looking at you, Texas. I am thinking of you guys, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye, everybody.